Hello and good afternoon. Joe Justice here, coming to you live on July 21st, 2023. And it is a beautiful Friday afternoon. Weather's great. I hope you get the chance to get outside. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Wanted to let you know earlier this week I talked about the Kindle Scribe that I'd recently purchased and gave some tips on that. If you look at the comments, you'll see the link to that. If you want to check that out for yourself to help you with your hustle, feel free to check that out. It's a really cool device. And check out Monday's show if you missed it, where I show off how it works and give you some information on that. Coming up today on Friday, Feel Good Friday, as I like to say, I have got a very cool guest for us, a guy I've known for years and years and years, and haven't really had a chance to interview or talk to all that much about business, so I'm excited to have him. His name is Jeb Corey, and Jeb is the CEO. He's actually a little bit of a serial entrepreneur. We'll talk about that here in just a second, but he is the CEO of Link. So I'm going to bring Jeb up here so we can talk about it, and I'm going to ask you, Jeb, what's your hustle, buddy?
Hey, Joe. Thanks for having me on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
tell me, you're a little bit of a serial entrepreneur, aren't you?
I try to be. I mean, yeah, I'm not sure everything we do is very successful, but yeah, we definitely are always trying, adapting, making changes to make sure what our current offerings have can adapt to the new times and to sometimes bring up some new ideas as well. So we do what we can.
Well, let me step back for just a second. I know you try there, but that's what it's all about being an entrepreneur, right? You got to try different things, you got to adapt, you got to move, you got to hustle, right?
Absolutely. And, I think most entrepreneurs will probably tell you that they'll have a million failures before they have a couple successes. So that's definitely not out of the realm for us as well.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to specifically talk about this week. I saw that you had a ribbon cutting earlier this week, and I really tried to make it, but I missed it, and I was wanting to hear about it. Tell me about your ribbon cutting.
Yeah, so we did a ribbon cutting here at our facility. It's at 312 21st Street West here in North Charleston, right near the North Charleston Community Center. And, we kind of moved into this building a couple of years ago, right before COVID, and then COVID kind of hit. And then we never really had a chance to say, hey, here, this is where we are and this is what we do. So we thought now was probably a good time to do that. So we had the ribbon cutting here. We wanted to kind of show off the facility. We've been working on it the last couple of years, really fixing it up. One of the cool things that we did is we put about over 120 solar panels on the roof, and we actually produce more energy than we consume. And
Oh,
that's
that's
actually,
great.
yeah, it is. I mean, it's pretty interesting. And it was really part of a 10-year plan. That was phase one, and phase two will go towards storing that solar power because that's one thing you have to do is store some of this energy that you have overflow on. And that technology is developing quite quickly. I know there's even plans for some battery storage in the state of West Virginia, some facilities that are working on that. And then the third part of that really is to lend itself to making an electric fleet. So that will be the long-term plan of why we did that is because we believe the future is in electric vehicles and maybe some hydrogen vehicles, but definitely some more greener options. So we wanted to say, hey, this is the facility, and then we also wanted to talk about all the services that we offer too. So that's why we did the ribbon cutting.
So you did the ribbon cutting on this Link business. Tell me, what is Link, and how did you get started with it? What do you guys actually do?
So Link really has three different brands or three different divisions. The first and primary was Link Transportation, and it was designed a few years ago as we kind of watched what was happening in the transportation industry, where you have what I call traditional taxi services and then what I call modern taxi services, and these are like the rideshare networks. And we said, there's really good value to both sides of that. Maybe we should work on something that kind of brings the best of both worlds into one place. And so that's what we did with Link Transportation. And we think it's one of the more flexible, more dynamic platforms out there. And, your show's really about being entrepreneurial, and Link Transportation is really geared towards that. So, there's some people out there who want to use their own car for transportation, and, more power to you if you want to do that. You're more than happy to take your car and get on our platform if you want. And we even have a thing that we just launched called Link PM, where between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. at night, you can get on our platform for little or maybe even no cost. As long as you're using your own car, your own insurance, taking care of your own maintenance, from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., you'd be able to get on our platform, no cost, and you're going to be keeping more of that money from the trip to yourself than maybe under different platforms.
Oh, cool. And this is so when you say platform, this is an app that you would get in the Apple Store or the Play Store. Is that right?
Yeah, so there's a driver app for drivers, there's a passenger app for passengers, but then there's really a whole back end system that's doing scheduling and routing, and people who need a ride can call us for a ride. They can use the app for a ride. They can use the website. Again, it's very dynamic. You can pay with cash. You can pay with credit card. There's all kinds of different flexible options. So really, no matter how you want to order the transportation, we try to meet that need, and however you want to pay for that transportation, we try to meet that need. And then, there's drivers out there who I think over the years have said, I like doing this type of work, but I didn't realize the wear and tear that goes on my car. Because when you're out there putting, now tens or 20 or 30 or 50 or 60,000 plus miles on your vehicle a year, the wear and tear is quite great. So we
Yeah.
have part of that, our platform is you can use our cars. So we can lease you a vehicle and you can use that vehicle again for whatever you want. We have tons of work that comes through our platform for non-emergency medical transportation, people going to the airport, corporate trips, people going to grocery stores, normal medical appointments, things of that nature. So you can use that car, use for that work. But if you also want to do other ride sharing platforms in our vehicles, you can. If you want to do some of the food delivery stuff in our vehicles, you can. If you want to build up your own clientele in our vehicles, you can. We wanted to be a one-stop shop for people who wanted to drive a revenue from actually driving. And
Well,
so,
that's
yeah,
really cool.
yeah.
So I've got a friend of mine who's got a son that's he was in his early 20s, and I was talking to him a couple years back and asking him, what do the young people, do for scratch money these days? And he shows me his phone, and he's got like 15 apps. And when he's just sitting around bored, doesn't have anything to do, he like just turns them all on. And then it's like, oh, I'm going to getting Chick-fil-A for one guy and I'm driving on the way. I'll drive a guy and drop him off here. And it's like, that's what a lot of the young people are doing. They're very industrious. And, why work a 9 to 5 or whatever, or a graveyard shift that, at a restaurant when you could just pop on an app and do whatever you want, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's what they kind of call the gig economy, right?
Gig economy. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, so you're feeding right into that. So I guess Link is some kind of a big nationwide franchise that you've started.
Not per se. I mean, everybody likes to, they think that. I mean, our branding is very good. And so when you see the Link brand and see all the work that we've done in developing the platform, you're like, wow, man, that's got to be some multi-billion dollar nationwide company. And the reality is it's not. It's my company. I created it here. It's born and raised in Charleston, West Virginia, just like myself. So
Awesome.
we're local. We'd like to go nationwide at some point in time, but for the most part, right now we're here in West Virginia.
Well, we're gonna get you there, buddy. Don't worry. Just so everybody knows, your core business, the family business, is C&H Taxi, right?
Yeah, so we've had CNH Taxi for about 42 years now, and that was a good learning stepstone towards this direction that we're headed now. There's a lot of education that happens when you experience that type of business for so many decades. So that helped us prepare for the stuff that we're doing now and for the future.
I can imagine. So I want to take a step back here for just a second and talk to me a little bit about the life of an entrepreneur, of a hustler. What's it like? What would you tell somebody that was younger than you that was saying, they had an idea for an app or they had an idea for a business? What do I need to know before I get started? What would you tell them?
I think all people have tons of great ideas, right? And everybody says, okay, I've got a great idea for this. I'm going to go do it. And they start working towards it. One of the things that I realized over decades of being in business is that no matter what your idea is, no matter how good it is or whatever it is, the key to being successful is actually being very organized in the back end, right? Because it's great to have an idea of running a business, but there's all kinds of back end operations that I don't think people always realize. So depending on the type of business you're running, right, there's going to be different types of insurances you have to have in place. There's going to be different types of back end systems you have to have in place, different type of payment systems, websites, apps, phone systems, employment, HR. There's so much stuff that goes into running a business. When you're a one-man show, that stuff's relatively easy to manage because you're just managing yourself. When you start adding on employees or independent contractors or buildings that you have to maintain or vehicles or other assets you have to maintain, all this stuff becomes a very complicated web of things that have to be done in order. Otherwise, you fall apart. And to get that accomplished, you always have to be very organized and be very on top of things and make sure that everything is in place. And so that's one of the things I would always say is, hey, make sure you're either a very organized person yourself, or you work with somebody else who's very organized and can help keep these matters in order.
Yeah, you need somebody, whether it's you or somebody else, that's attention to details, right?
Absolutely, yeah, you bet.
So what have you done to make sure that you check all those boxes and get all those kinds of things done? Do you have like an electronic system? Do you have a paper system? What do you do to stay on top of things?
We have lots of different systems, again, because we're doing lots of different things now. So whether it's the transportation company, our auto repair shop that we run, our new Link local app that talks about all the other small businesses that are around town, each one of those things has its own array of different technical things that needs to go into place. So uh, we've become very adaptive to different cloud-based systems. So our transportation entity operates on a cloud-based platform. Our auto shop has its own cloud-based platform. Our Link Local app has its cloud-based platform. And those platforms are very useful to help keeping things organized and in order. And you just have to kind of make sure that you also have a lot of automation in place these days. So when emails or phone calls come in, that they get routed to the proper person. And if not, you have an emergency backup for getting that taken care of. And then you have
Right.
to have good accounting software and things of that nature. So we always consider ourselves pretty tech savvy. So we rely on a lot of technology to keep the stuff in order. But then you also have to make sure that, again, you yourself or somebody else in your organization or multiple people in your organization understand all this different technology. And that within itself becomes another challenge to make sure everybody's trained up on this stuff.
Or make sure you have a good IT company like Advantage Technology, right?
Exactly. Yes, we've definitely relied on Advantage over the years to help us out in several situations.
Awesome. Well, I do appreciate that. Well, we're coming up on our time here, Jeb. I really appreciate you joining us. Is there any last words you want to say to anybody? How can they find your app? And it's
Yeah.
Link, spelled Link, by the way.
Yep.
How do people find your app or find out more about you, CNH Taxi, or anything else?
I
What
think
would you like to say?
the easiest thing is just to go to linkwv.com, linkwv.com right now. That's a little splash page we launched earlier this week, and it will show you all the different things that we do. And it's got links to all our dedicated websites as well. So just go to linkwv.com and you can check out everything we do from there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hang on for just a second. I'm going to say goodbye to all the folks, and then I'll be right back to you, okay?
All right. Thanks, Joe. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, there you go, guys. Go to linkwv.com. I'll pop that in the comments as well so that you have the link. Thank you so much. The link to link. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you have a wonderful Friday, a great weekend, and I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye for now.